Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bengal Tiger Podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Shea Dixon. Shea, how are you doing today?
Busy week, huh? Portal. We thought spring break for football would mean calm week, not practicing, nothing going on. But boy, did portal season hit heavy, which is a good thing for basketball. They needed it, Matty B.
Yes, yes. Here we'll be talking about the men's basketball side of things, which has been, like you said, been very, very busy, both departures and additions and everything. And then we'll talk about the women's side of things, which has some drama as well that we'll talk about. Starting on the men's side, I I think we can just jump straight into the additions. Before we'll talk about, I think, the departures and I guess where they're at as a roster afterwards. But in terms of just the additions so far, we have 4 transfer portal pickups for Matt McMahon. And the first being Don Thomas. DJ is what he goes by because it's Don Thomas Jr. So DJ Thomas, Rashad King, Mike Nwoko from Mississippi State, Max McKinnon last night committed from Portland, who was their leading scorer. DJ Thomas from UNLV, their leading scorer and assist man. And that's the group. So where do you start when you look at those 4 pickups for McMahon?
I guess we have to start with the highest ranked one, right? Don Thomas Jr., DJ Thomas coming out of UNLV. You just put on 3, the Bengal Tiger. We've got breakdowns on everyone, but you did a really deep, in-depth breakdown today on Don Thomas on DJ. You talked to him, but I guess I should give you the mic here. But this is a top 10 player in the portal, Matty B. And I think we have to set the stage by saying in February, whenever we reported on Bengal Tiger that they weren't going to fire Matt McMahon, that would cost you fire him and the staff at this point, it costs you $10 million. Then you have to hire a new staff, right? Then you've got to recruit and retain. It's way easier if you trust that Matt McMahon's a good coach and he's got a good staff to invest in NIL. And that's what they said they would do. And they kicked the fences in this week. I mean, let's be real. I mean, on Monday to kick off the week, not only did they grab an SEC starter, a rim protector, but then grab DJ Thomas. And as a top 10 player, we're talking about a guy that was co-freshman of the year in the Mountain West, which was a conference that's got a lot of good basketball. He's got a ton of good numbers. He has experience, but as Matt McMahon said, see his exact quote, loves his ability to orchestrate the offense, get into the paint off the bounce, and shoot the ball from behind the three-point arc. His vision on the court, unselfishness, and ability to throw the lob pass are fun to watch. If you get shouted out for the lob pass in like a 3-sentence quote from your new head coach, I imagine that shows up a bunch on film. But he talks about his passion. His dad played at UNLV back when they were on fire back in the day with Jared Tarkanian and that crew. But this was the biggest one. We don't know how many they have left, like if there will be a bigger splash, but I think we have him ranked as number 10, 11 overall player in the portal. Half of those guys are committed. So this could indeed be the biggest kind of guy you reel in. You watched the tape last year of all the guys that were transferring in. You watched the year prior, all the guys transferring in. Now you've watched his film. Where does he stack up? And I'm some of these guys are forwards, guards, centers. Overall talent wise, overall impact wise, like, is this the type of kind of turn the program around type of player, win you games type of player that if you put pieces around him, he can take you to a new level?
Yeah, so that, like you said, this is the highest ranked edition. I think if you want to like go off of something, Jalen Cook was a really big pickup for this team. Obviously, it didn't work out, for whatever reasons. But that's kind of where we started to see Matt McMahon really wants to put a lot of emphasis on the point guard position. And I think this falls in suit with that in terms of, look, we got all this new money to spend. We got all this new resources to spend. Let's go get one of, if not the top point guard in the transfer portal and make sure we're set at that position because that's where we want to start things off. And I think with DJ Thomas, like Florida and Kentucky were very much in on this recruitment. Like this was a huge, huge battle for LSU to win. and NIL certainly played a factor. But I mean, you're going against Florida and Kentucky. Those are teams that have more NIL than LSU. So LSU sold him the fact that he will be the focal point of this offense, that they're going to surround him with talent, and that he's going to be the guy that leads them in their resurgence in the SEC. Like you said, in terms of just the film, real quickly, I think his greatest attribute is his passing. He's an absolutely elite assist man. His assist rate's super high. His turnover rate's very, very low. Doesn't force the issue a ton in terms of like bad passes or risky passes. I think you surround him with a little bit of shooting, and then the forwards of like a Jalen Reed and a Rob Miller and Mike Nwoko, who we'll talk about. I like that's where he can really, really kill teams, like in ball screens and getting to the basket. So, I do have like some small questions, but those are pale in comparison to just how good he is as a creator for himself and for others.
Let's not say he did score 16 points a game as well
Yes.
at UNLV, which was top 10 in the Mountain West. So he can score the basketball. He shoots it well, as McMahon said. But the assist to turnover ratio of 2.5, I guess in layman's terms, let's just boil it down to that's top 3 in the Mountain West. So this is one of the Mountain West's best players. And they had, as I said, they had some good teams out there this year.
Oh yeah.
So uh, when you look at this one, it made all the spot, the headlines, everything. Who do you jump to second? Because they added 2 on Monday, they add another midweek, and then we're recording this on Friday at 1. So Matt McMahon and company have done it again, and we haven't talked about that person. That's the reason why. But the most recent one came Thursday evening with a commitment. Staying, I guess they've been all over the map, really, but went up to Northeastern to grab a player, but then now get on an Australian who was playing at Portland in Max McKinnon. And again, a guy who averaged 15 a game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. And once more, what jumps out, and this is kind of the same for a couple of guys, he shoots 47% from the field and above 40 from 3. And he's an 89% shooter from the line. Second
Yeah.
team All WCC. You toss in Rashad King, who we'll talk about here in a moment. But where do you go? Like, who jumps out at you next? This is a 6'6" guard, I should say. This is not a, forward for you that's putting up these type of numbers and shooting from 3. These are lengthy kids who can play multiple spots, it feels like. But thoughts
Right.
on, I guess, where you go next? Is McKinnon the next big splash, or was
Yeah.
it
Let,
a guy like Rashad King at Northeastern?
Yeah, both of them are huge for this team. If we're splitting hairs, I'd probably lean King right now, but I mean McKinnon was the leading scorer on a team this past season and was doing it very efficiently. Like he was very close to that 50, 40, 90 mark that a lot of people, praise in terms of efficiency. The free throw percentage was like 88. Like you already said, the 3-point percentage was north of 40. So you get a guy who at 6'6" gives you that size and shooting that they just didn't have last year, right? When Tyrell Ward left the team, it was like, okay, Jai Bailey's our only real wing and he can't shoot.
Sure.
So it just became a very one-dimensional type thing. They had a bunch of 6'3" and under guards, and they had a bunch of like 6'8" north forwards. So McKinnon gives them that wing that they needed in terms of that's a shooter. And he's not just a shooter. He was like up there in terms of like assist rate in the West Coast Conference, and did a lot of things. Like got to the free throw line as well. So he's a really polished player, and he's Australian. We know David Patrick recruits and knows the Australians very well. So
Yeah, for
that's
those that don't
go
know,
ahead.
David Patrick was on staff, helped obviously get Ben Simmons, who has a relationship with, family relationship with, but is known as one of the ace recruiters out there. So,
Yeah.
not to interrupt, but David Patrick in Australia, that one clicked very quickly. That's probably the connection they got there.
Yeah. So you add McKinnon on the wing. I think that's a very, very significant addition for them, especially with his shooting ability. Like I said, in relation to DJ Thomas, you want to put shooters around him. But then you go to Rashad King, and this is a guy who averaged 18 and a half at Northeastern last year. And I mean, not just that, he did everything: 6.1 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 45% from the field. And this is the real versatile wing. And I think he, like, just watching, I haven't dove all the way in, but just in the film I have seen, defensively he gets after it too. So another 6'6" wing that has good strength from Georgia. And I think that's a big like versatility piece for them. McKinnon, I expect to be a little bit more like scoring and offensive oriented. I think King can play both ways at a high level.
He's coming out of Northeastern, which is in the coastal. So they've got UNCW went to the tournament, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
this year. But
Yeah.
Charleston's obviously been a team that in recent years has had success. So they face up against some good competition. But first team All CAA, he's 6'1", but I don't mean Bud, not as big as these other guys, but a 6'1"
Wait,
guy.
King?
What is the, did I say 6'1"? What's his
King
height?
six, King 6'6", King 6'6".
6'6". Okay. So are they all 6'6"? I mean,
McKinnon 6'6", Thomas is 6'1". So I don't know
that's
if you
what I was
guys both
thinking. I'm
know.
probably
Yeah,
thinking of Thomas.
yeah,
Yes, I am. I have him written
yeah.
down. UNLV Thomas. Okay. King 6'6", McKinnon 6'6", and then Mississippi State Nwoku's probably 6'10".
Yeah.
Your rim protector. Okay, so on King, I think what jumped out to me, you mentioned it a little bit of it all. He is arguably the best defender in the Colonial this past year. I mean, 38 steals on the year, led the conference. He did the same the year prior. He gets a lot of boards. We're talking about a guy who, as you said, came from Georgia, was a bit under recruited, committed to UMBC. They had a coaching change, ends up at Northeastern, and he stays there for 3 years. Could have come out last year in the portal because he had a good year last year. But 6'6" and has 3 seasons there, 2,500 minutes, 932 points, 260 boards, 97 steals, 49 blocks, 218 assists. This kind of Matt McMahon's putting together a group of guys also. That's a lot of experience. That's not like I played a year somewhere and came off the bench and
Yeah.
promising. I've started 3 straight years in the Coastal and one of them, I mean, he played more minutes than anybody in the Coastal League did this past season. He played the 17th most minutes per game in the NCAA. So, if anything, you're getting someone who absolutely knows what it takes to play a full season and do it. Now he's done it 3 straight years. He started since he was a freshman.
Yeah, so I like the experience aspect of it. Thomas is honestly, well, Thomas and Wilco are the only guys that haven't played like multiple seasons. And Thomas was a full-time starter for UNLV the last 2 seasons and played like 35 minutes a game. And Nwoko started all 30 games for Mississippi State this past year.
They
So
made the tournament.
yeah, and made the tournament. So you're looking at a group that I think they needed to get older and they needed to get stronger and more versatile. And I think they've done that with all these pickups. Just real quick on Mike Nwoko before we move on. I just wrote out my transfer analysis on him. I scheduled it for tomorrow morning. This is a guy, and I wrote it at the same time that Damian Collins enters the transfer portal. And I think
That's what you expected, kind of. You said
yes,
he's the one on the fence. There's been some injury stuff, obviously. You didn't know what was going to go on there, but yeah. So Damian Collins is out now, and that happened right before we got on the podcast.
yes, and so Nwoko, to put it simply, in comparisons to Damian Collins, Nwoko is a little bit bigger and he's a lot stronger than Collins was. Collins is, a skinny guy that could jump, was a great athlete. Collins is more skilled, but I think Nwoko is more durable and a better rebounder. And so because of that, I lean towards taking Nwoko. Like I would rather have Nwoko because you know what you're getting on a day in, day out basis. Again, Damon Collins is very talented. He was a 5-star for a reason, 4 years ago. But I just think the durability and the rebounding and the energy of Nwoko is significant. So I was impressed with the tape. He's not going to jump off. I don't think he starts on this team, but I think he's huge for them in terms of matching up with size, like we see with go through the SEC, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, so on and so forth, that all have bigs that can do a lot of things.
We're at 4
Yeah,
additions right now. When you look at it, Matty B, as you just said, with Nwoko, you're not sure if he starts. We don't know yet what Robert Miller's going to do. We do know Jalen
correct.
Reed's coming back. Robert Miller, the third, is the other guy on the team. I think that if you were to ask the basketball coaches off the record, they would probably tell you he would be the next most important piece. And obviously, Jalen Reed got hurt this year before his season even got going. So we'll get to see him healthy again, hopefully, or obviously, you expected to be healthy again and ready to go for next season. You know what other pieces they have on the team. We don't know who's going to hit the portal yet. So this is a very tough game to play. But who who of this group of four do you think are no doubt starters? Like, you're not bringing them in to not start.
Yeah, Thomas is a no doubt starter at the point guard spot. I think King is gonna start. I think King is like a upgraded Jai Bailey type. Because I do think defensively he can do a lot of those things at that size, but then also he's just a better offensive player than what Bailey was. So I think King gets on there, whether it's the 2 or the 3, I don't know. Nwoko, like I said, with Jalen Reed and then hopefully Rob Miller coming back, you have that, like, I think that's the 4-5 there, regardless of what order that is. But then McKinnon, I'd have to see who else they bring in, because I do think McKinnon is very talented and a scorer, but I'd be interested to see who else they bring in if they can go get one more big time guard to pair with Thomas in the backcourt there. So that's the group. And then you mentioned the only returners right now, and this isn't even concrete, is Jalen Reed, Rob Miller, and Curtis Gibbons. Right? Like, I don't think
Yes.
I'm missing any from that group.
No, because the others have graduated already. They'd be
Yeah,
done.
so some have graduated, 6 have entered the portal. Victorious Miller, Damian Collins, Corey Chess, Mike Williams, Tyrell Ward, Noah Boyd are the
None of
6.
those surprised you because you said before that you expected probably all of them would hit the portal.
Yes. Obviously from a fan perspective and just, from LSU fan perspective, you want, like, oh, Victorious Miller would have been nice to return and so on and so forth. I think there was a need, like I said, to get significantly older here, and Miller, Chest, Mike, like, those are still all first or second year guys. I think they needed to get, like, substantially older here to where you're not playing those younger guys. Yeah, as much as I liked Victorious Miller, I think he's going to have a very, very good career. I just think they needed to get older and get bigger with guys like King and McKinnon that, might not have like the ceiling that Victorious has, but in terms of a 1 year, like, go win a game, like, yeah, you're getting experienced dudes that know how to do it at this, at that rate. So that, and then the last one I'll say is Corey Chest. I think he took a visit to Ole Miss. I saw some people saying that he's like, they're projecting him to Ole Miss potentially. I think he can have an impact at SEC teams. I just don't think he fit what LSU wanted to build there. And in terms of at the 4 positions, we know this with Matt McMahon, is like he wants to have shooting, he wants to have versatility there. Corey Chess, and I love him. I wrote Corey Chess before the year was the breakout candidate, and I was right. I just don't think he fits what LSU wants to do, and he can't play the 5. So it kind of pigeonholes you in a sense when he's on the court. So all of them made sense to me. Nothing shocked me. And now it's about replacing them and getting older and getting stronger. That was one of the main things when talking to sources. It's like, we just played a lot of, like, we just didn't have a lot of mass on the court.
Yeah.
When you talk to that's what sources were saying. So I think that's a big thing. And I think they've done a good job so far of replacing them.
They, how would you grade out LSU? Sort of been the storyline team of the week because
They've been the most active.
Only 2 teams in the SEC did not make the big dance this year. It was LSU and South Carolina. The other way they are tied as they were together is they were the 2 teams with the lowest NIL budget in the offseason a year ago. So it became very evident that, hey, look, in what is the toughest the SEC has ever been, now that it's expanded, Texas and OU are in it, they make the big dance, that you've got to up your NIL. And is it fair to say that these 4 additions prove that NIL has increased, as they said, which we believe, but is this proof of it? Like, could they have picked up these 4 guys a year ago?
DJ Thomas cost more than their entire team last year.
Say that one more time.
DJ Thomas cost more than their entire team last year.
Think about putting together a roster when a player's NIL value is that, and you have less than that to work with for an entire roster. That's where LSU was at a year ago.
Yeah. So now that, and then King, Nwoko, McKinnon, I think especially King, and I'd even throw McKinnon in there, even though McKinnon, I think, has, like you said, the Australian ties to Patrick and whatnot. I think King especially, I think that's someone that getting on him early and really trying to lock it down. Like, LSU and South Carolina have been very, very active early, and I've been very impressed with both of them. But the buy-in has made a huge difference for LSU here. And honestly, it's probably played a role in Jalen Reed coming back so quickly.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
not even testing like the portal or anything like that. Jalen Reed was like, nope, I'm back. I'm good. Cool.
Yeah.
And Jalen Reed has been bought in with McMahon since he committed for 3 years ago. Like he has never wavered. So that was great to see. But to answer your point, yes. To answer your question, yes, the NIL has made a huge difference. And I think they're not, I know they're not done yet. I think they have 3 spots tentatively right now because 3 freshmen, 3 returners, and 4 additions. That puts them at 10. So 3 spots left tentatively.
Yeah, and Matty B, you've had the scoop on a number of guys. A couple of brothers from Elon have visited.
Yeah.
The Summit Player of the Year coming out of an Omaha team that made the tournament, made a lot of noise this year. Visited campus earlier this week. And then there's been guys like DJ Thomas, who, as you noted, Florida, Kentucky, Syracuse, those were the 3 finalists, right? We didn't even know he visited. They kept it so quiet. And then he commits. So
yeah.
Each time you've asked sources, I've asked people, we're not done yet. And not meaning like, well, we still have room, we're going to add more. We get the sense that they mean we're not done yet, as in there's some impact players still to come.
Yeah. I think from just a real quick a needs perspective, I would expect 1 forward, and I mean forward, not center. I think they're fine at center because Reed, Miller, and Nwoko can all play the center spot. I think like an actual forward, like the Omaha transfer Sutton would give them in theory. I'm not saying that they're going to land him per se, but if they did, like that would check that box of like a 6'9" guy that can do a little bit of everything. And then I think they'll probably go with 1 guard and 1 wing there with the other 2 spots to kind of round it out. I think King and McKinnon are big enough, like you said, 6'6", to where they can play either spot. But I think you want to be sure to give Thomas like a secondary creator on the court at the shooting guard position. So that's what I would expect with the last 3 spots, and we'll see what they do.
I'm looking at this. Yes, Jerron Pierre, who played at St. Aug in the city during his high school, 6'4", coming out of high school, was not, I think he was a 3-star, wasn't like he was a major prospect coming out, but went to Jacksonville State, and now he obviously will have LSU's attention. Kentucky's been talked up as a big player, but you saw a lot of him because he was CUSA's Player of the Year. Kid coming out of New Orleans. If that's a guy LSU fans have mentioned. Obviously, LSU's probably been in touch with him and are keeping things quite quiet there so that they can see how all the dominoes fall. But there are a lot of names out there. Like for them to be in the mix with a lot of guys who were players of the year, co-players of the year in conferences around the country speaks volumes. Like these aren't just random guys coming from, smaller leagues trying to make the jump into the SEC.
Yes. We could go down the list of players in the last 3 teams that were not conference player of the years that transferred to LSU, and it did not work out.
You've seen Jerron Pierre play though?
Well, North Texas isn't in Conference USA anymore.
Oh, they're in the AAC. That's right.
They're in the AAC.
Oh, so you don't watch you don't watch CUSA anymore? My bad. I thought you were a baller.
My CUSA fandom died when all the teams went to the American. I did watch some like UTEP and whatnot, like because I did that Texas basketball podcast. But regardless, yes, that's a high volume score that people have thrown out there. So we'll see if we can get anything on him. So you want to flip to the women's side real quick?
Yeah, we'll do a quick ad read. And this is timely. Andy Luedecke, who My Perfect Franchise, you guys know him. We've rocked with him for years. He has been, and what Andy does, he's a franchise owner, but also has now moved into the consulting realm of it and has done it for a couple of decades now. And he helps walk you through, no matter what it is, no matter your skill set, your time requirements, any of that. It costs no money at all. You'll never have to pay him. And Andy will take you step by step of saying, what is it you want to do? What is it you might be interested in? Maybe a spouse, a child, someone else in your life, or you, of, hey, look, I'm ready to leave my job, but I want to maybe get into becoming a franchise owner or franchisee, but I don't even know where to start. And that's what Andy's kind of dedicated his life's work to now after running a number of franchises. And a lot of LSU people have joined on. And because of it, he has said that for each person who ends up going and reaching out to him. And you can get him, Andy, at it's Andy at myperfectfranchise.net on email, or call him. He'll answer every time. 404-973-9901, 404-973-9901. If you just call him and say, look, I heard about it on the Bengal Tiger podcast. What do you do? How can I get a feel for kind of this line of business, whatever it might be in? His Rolodex is deep. He then gets you through to in touch with those businesses, how you work with becoming either a part of it or owning your own franchise or starting one, whatever it might be. He said he's done a bit of it all. And I think we're up to maybe double digit LSU folks who have now gone all the way through and started a business or gotten into a business with Andy's help. He's going to kick back a percentage to LSU's NIL for baseball. He's a big baseball fan. He's a Texas baseball fan, but they're in the SEC. He's got love for all the SEC, and he said that it obviously will depend on how big of a deal you end up getting, but he wants to give a percentage, whether it be 10, 15, 20, 25% of the deal. He will give back and match to LSU baseball's NIL. And as we said, we're recording this on Friday. Kate Anderson for LSU, coming off the North Shore in St. Paul's, went out and threw one of the best games you'll see from an LSU pitcher in a long time. Went all 9 innings, 135 pitches, gave up no runs, gave up 5 hits, struck out 14, 15 batters. It was an amazing display to go on the road for the first time, Matty B, in Norman to play Oklahoma as part of the SEC in baseball and take down and get 2 runs at least against an SEC starter on the OU side who's projected as a mid-round, middle of the first round pick in the MLB draft. So very big, very big. But call Andy, tell him you heard about us here. And again, you could just have a couple of questions of how did you start? What did you get into? What are people doing? How much money would it take? And he said that it's one of those, there are no dumb questions. And I think people would be surprised. He said with whether it is your financial requirement or time to commit, that it's such a sliding scale that there's something out there for everybody. So give him a call, 404-973-9901 or Andy at myperfectfranchise.net. We'll wrap up here. And it's funny because like the men have made all the kids have hit the portal. They've added guys. Kim Mulkey and company, they move in silence. They've added nobody, but not because there haven't been many women's teams. It's kind of a different beast that have top tier added people. 4 of them are still playing that, have games to play, but they've had a few go. And maybe that's what we need to talk about, because I think people who are, if you're not on the Bengal Tiger, if you don't have a pulse on it, when you see the name Samaya Smith hits the portal, when you see last tier Poa hits the portal, you say, well, these were girls that were on the national championship team. They've been there this whole way. What's the deal here? I'll let you take the mic. Again, Samaya was injured a year ago, came back. Her best ball really was that stretch at the end when she was putting up 20 and 10 and playing 40 minutes for them in the tournament to get them, up to the Elite 8. And then Poe was coming off the bench. Obviously, they had brought in point guards and she was playing a little bit less. But regardless, both those names, I think LSU fans would say, oh, man, are things falling apart there? Really, this is just the business of being in the NIL era and building a team that is expected every year, Matty B. Now, the expectation is you get to the Sweet 16 Elite 8. It isn't you make the tournament. That got thrown out the window. You make the tournament, you host 2 games, you better win those 2 games. Year one, they did it and they lost to Ohio State. They didn't get out of Baton Rouge. Now they've made those trips consecutively after winning a national championship to getting back to at least Elite 8. This just comes with the territory, right? It kind of sucks, but it is what it is, because that's what the price of admission is to be one of the best teams in the country.
Correct. Now it's about getting back to a Final Four level and doing that where Samaya Smith, I mean, everybody, whether it's LSU, whether it's LSU fans, no matter who it is, will praise Samaya Smith and everything that she's did for this program and recovering from her second ACL injury, to be the player that she is at this point. I think her best ball is still ahead of her. I think she's going to continue to get better. But ultimately, I think we saw it throughout the year. They just weren't quite big enough in the front court Samaya, very good player. I think she held up pretty well against Betts, but like she's 6'2", and then Morrow is like 6 foot, and Anissa Morrow has also had a tremendous season, was awesome all year. I think there is an urgency to get bigger in the front court this year, because ultimately you're not going to have Anissa Morrow that can just go get you 14 rebounds a game by stepping on the court. I think without that, you have to go back to kind of a traditional lineup of Kim Mulkey, where she wants to have 6'5", 6'3", or 6'6", 6'2", or something like that in the front court. So there's an urgency, I think, to get bigger there. And then I think for POA, it's not surprising because I think they also have a lot of guards coming in with this freshman class that have very, very high expectations. Flau'Jae Johnson in the McDonald's All-American game was tremendous.
If you haven't seen the clips yet, go to the Bengal Tiger message board. They're on there. She was a bucket at the McDonald's game this week.
Yeah, and she's ready to play. Divine Burge, who was not in the McDonald's All-American game, but she's a top 12 recruit in the country, so somehow that didn't happen. But she's ready to play. There's 6-foot guards that can handle the ball. Grace Knox is a force. That goes back to the Samaya conversation where they're stepping in. She had a very good game.
She was swatting people's shots in the McDonald's All-American game.
2 blocks, 10 rebounds, I think, or 8 rebounds, whatever. She led the game in rebounds, so they get her in here. And then Bella Hines is a scorer. So I think this freshman class is going to immediately give them an influx.
Saying Bella Hines is a scorer is an understatement, right?
Yeah. Yes,
she's a bucket.
Yes, an absolute bucket. I think from a shooting perspective, she's going to come in and immediately be able to help the team in spurts on offense. So you come in with this influx of those 4 that are all able to help this team immediately with the depth. And while like this year's team had depth, it wasn't like standout quality. It wasn't South Carolina type depth, right? Where you have all these 4 or 5 stars stacked up. That's what I think LSU is getting back to now with this freshman class. And then you look to return Michaela Williams and Flau'Jae Johnson. We'll talk about Flau'Jae's return to college basketball in a minute, but you return those two. Jada Richard's back. You see who comes back from the.
Let's pause there. Who's your favorite player that's going to come off the bench and make an impact on next year's team? That was on the bench this year that's going to be a piece to next year's team, and why is it Jada Richard? We need to give Opelousas love here. Gatorade Player of the Year.
Yeah.
She came into that Sweet 16 game against NC State, and she was one person that wasn't scared to get the ball and shoot it.
Jada Richard is going to be a significant player like on next year's team. For no matter who's on the team, no matter who's on the roster, like she has exceeded her ranking where I think she was like in the 90s in whatever ranking it was. She has exceeded that just in her first year. I think as a shooter, she immediately has value. And then I think she's going to get more comfortable in Kim Mulkey's system in year 2. So you start with there. I think they're going to get Miracle Shepherd back. So you have that as a nice 1-2 punch. Whether one of them starts or not, I don't know. But that's a really good core guards in addition to the freshman guards there. So I like this group. I'm interested to see what they do in the portal. I think the thing to note here is it's not like the men's game where the men's game, especially for this LSU team, on the men's side, it's kind of like you can go get a lot of good players from like lower majors and raise them up and they're fine. The women's game, it's not really that way for the most part. There's a few, but typically you're looking at transfers from other high majors that have to kind of come and make an impact because there is such a disparity between high majors and low majors in the women's game. So the pool is smaller, like the amount of impact players is smaller, I would say, and it's going to be interesting. They've been linked to a couple interesting names. I mean, I wrote a story about Tanai Latson from Florida State, who we all saw scored 23 in the first half against LSU, averaged 27 on the season. And then as well as Sarah Williams, transfer from Wisconsin. I wrote about both of them. They're in the mix for both of them. I don't have anything concrete to say they're in the lead or anything like that, but I do know they are in the mix for them. So those are two like just huge top 5 players in the portal right there.
And coming out of FSU, she led the nation in scoring, didn't she?
Yes.
I believe.
Yes.
And they had to put Miracle on her, and she was even getting buckets on Miracle, who's your clamp down defender in the postseason. I guess that was the final game to get out of Baton Rouge and into the Sweet 16. But I think that's a good point. You can't the men's game has so many good players at all different levels and different conferences. Where the women, when you're LSU and you're
Correct.
UConn and you're USC and you're Notre Dame and you're South Carolina, obviously, Texas, you're all kind of gunning for the same girls. And
Yeah.
much like it is in high school, you're all recruiting the same crop of like 20 girls, and you see how the chips fall. But you noted about Flau'Jae, you have the, the portal closes on April 23rd,
Yeah.
but you had to declare for the WNBA draft already. She didn't. So we know she's not going pro. But you've texted with sources even who said, "Hey, look, until the 24th comes, we're not, going to be jumping up and down and saying this is done until it's done." So
Yeah.
I think it would shock a lot of people if Flau'Jae entered the portal, much like all the Michaela buzz. Like that would have floored me if Michaela entered the portal. But Flau'Jae, where are you at here from just talking to people around the team?
Yeah. So I think they're in a much better spot to get Michaela back at this. I think Michaela's gonna come back for LSU. That would shock me at this point if she didn't. In terms of Flau'Jae, I think it's still very much up in the air. Like when people saw her return to college basketball, I think everyone just assumed is like, okay, cool, she's back to LSU. It's like, well, there's a whole 3 weeks here where she can see what's out there and whatnot. And I do think we know her from a business standpoint. She's always one that has been very vocal about, trying to set her family up, trying to do all these things to help her in the long run here. I mean, I think LSU can get her back, but ultimately, if there's a team that comes in that just NILs the heck out of her, that just throws 7 figures at her or something like that, I think it would put her in a position to where she could enter the portal and leave. So I'm saying that is on the table. I'm not saying that's happening, but I wouldn't be shocked at this point if a team just came in and was like, name your number, we'll do it. And then LSU, I think we've seen, even with like, go back to the Aaliyah Chavez situation where it was like LSU got out of that real quick and was like, all right, Oklahoma, Texas, y'all spend 1.2, 1.3 on an Aaliyah Chavez. I think LSU can spend the money, and maybe they do, but also I think from a roster construction standpoint, where does that put you if you throw all your eggs in one basket? Similar to Aaliyah Chavez, instead of getting Chavez, they got three 5 stars, and and Bella Hines is right there too. So it's like you get this class instead of just one. I think there is something to be said about balancing it out and figuring out how you want to distribute the money. And who knows? Maybe Flau'Jae doesn't even look at it as much of a transaction as I'm putting it that way. But I do think there's going to be an NIL aspect of it that she entertains.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that because she's talked about family. Her father was murdered, when
Yep.
before she was even able to grow up and have that relationship with him and watch her basketball career flourish. Her mother's always kind of led the way. Calls her a mom. What is it, momager, whatever it might be. I mean,
Momager, yeah.
Flau'Jae's been on
And
America's
they've
Got
done,
Talent twice. She's
yeah,
had a reality show. Like this isn't new to her. She knows what it's doing. It is a business, and the WNBA isn't what the NBA is. Like you're not going to go there and do that. And her rap career, honestly, may take her further, in time than a career in the WNBA would. I I guess I'm in the boat where I also think that LSU adds some extra value here that other teams don't in
correct.
terms of brand exposure. Everything that comes with being she's been the face of this Livy Dunn, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Flau'Jae NIL era of LSU, and how she's balanced it so well has been incredible. And she talked this year after they got knocked out about how rough the year was for her and that nobody knew about it except the staff, and her and Mulkey got really close. And um, I don't know. And look, from Reedus to everyone else, I think there's a lot of relationships here, and Flau'Jae with LSU, that it would surprise me if she bolted for 1 year, knowing that she's laid it on the everything out there for
Yeah.
LSU for 3 straight years. They're going to put together a good team. Michaela will be back. If you come back, then it's not as if she's going to be sitting the bench. She's one of their better players. So
Yeah.
I'm in the camp that Flau'Jae stays put.
Yeah.
But I can understand completely why we have not heard anything yet.
Yeah. And that's what I think. I want to make sure people. It's just like it's not going to be a quick process here. Like unless Flau'Jae comes on the next 2 days and be like, "Hey, I'm back, cool." Like take everything with a grain of salt. It's going to be a process. She's going to see what's out there probably, and then she'll make a decision from there. I do think coming back to LSU is a possibility. I think it has a good chance happening. Just everyone, just take a deep breath, and we'll see what happens. Flau'Jae has done an incredible job setting herself up in every single aspect of her career. She was on the commercials all March Madness long. She had the campaign where she was, what was it, paying for debt, relieving debt in
Yeah, debt
Louisiana.
relief in Louisiana. She was giving back her NIL money too. So
Yeah. So she's set. So we'll see where it goes from here. But I do think it's worth noting. It's like everyone kind of just jumped to LSU, Flau'Jae back to LSU. It's like, let's just wait a second and see what happens. Now I will
24th is the
say,
deadline. So she's got 3 weeks here.
yeah,
Until at least you have to have a decision and
yeah,
something will be made public. It'll be made public before that, obviously, because she'll have a decision. But I do say Flau'Jae is one of my favorite student athletes that's come through LSU just because it coincided with the NIL era and how she's been able to balance all that has been incredible. I don't know how she does it, but
me neither.
really impressive. And she's worn the LSU name well. This is a girl who she's never got any bad publicity. It's only been nothing but positive publicity. She's the one who waits around all game after to sign autographs for the fans and the young girls who wait an hour after the game to just take a photo with her, whatever it might be. So I do. I think Flau'Jae sticks, but look, we're living in a new world and we'll see. But I will say this, and this isn't I guess it is relative to Flau'Jae, but the roster in general, LSU fans at the end of the day have to take a step back and realize you've got to trust Kim Mulkey and the staff because they have proven it. They have taken a team that could not make the postseason in basketball, and immediately, as we talked about a minute ago, like the floor is considered Sweet 16. Like the expectation is Elite Eight. The goal is a Final Four national championship. To even be in that window of things consecutively, year after year after year, which is what they've done now, that means they know what they're doing. So this one will be very interesting to watch play out. We haven't had one of these yet, and Michaela hasn't said anything definitive, but she's a Louisiana girl.
Yeah.
She looks Simone's on staff. Her and Simone are the two best players to come out of Louisiana in a long time. Starkey, future Hall of Famer, and Mulkey. Like, I'm not as sidetracked by the Michaela conversation as I am paying attention to the Flau'Jae one.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Flau'Jae is from Georgia.
Yeah. They should be all right with Michaela, and Michaela is a tremendous, tremendous player. Like you get her back, and she's All-American next year. She
was the number 2 player in the country behind Juju. I mean, people forget that she was the best player in the country in that class. After that was like a 1-2 battle.
Yeah, and she was incredible that year. So yeah, the women are in a very it hasn't really picked up for the women yet. Like you said, no additions yet, only 2 departures. We'll see who else leaves. We'll see who they host on visits and so on. So stay tuned to the Bengal Tiger On3 for all the latest news on that. We've been talking on the board every day.
It's only $1. Shout out to everyone who's signed up. It's only $1 to join us. Do us if you're an LSU fan, don't be late on the news. If you can pay $1, test drive us for a week or so, and I think you'll stick around. Maddie B and the crew have been crushing it on the basketball stuff. We've had football stuff, and it's been great to talk basketball this week because it's spring break at LSU, so they didn't practice any football. They'll be back at spring practice for football on Monday, so we'll start covering that again. But we wanted to have kind of at least a podcast where we caught the average LSU fan, who may not know everything about the men's and women's teams, up to speed on kind of what they've seen in the news about Matt McMahon and company on fire and why these girls from the women's side have either entered or have been talked about entering, and there hasn't been any action yet on incoming transfers. And like you said, it's just a different beast than the men's game is. And look, when you're trying to get the best of the best out there, Maddie B and the women's side, those girls are probably waiting until closer to April 24th because let's see who all is interested type of thing.
Yep, exactly. It's kind of like the football spring, like the spring football portal window in a sense where there's the quantity is less. So it's
scary hours, D tackles in the spring portal window. No,
exactly. All right. Thank you all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave us a 5-star rating and review if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. Subscribe to the Bengal Tiger On3. Like Shea said, $1 for a week. We'd appreciate it.
$1. I will love you all if you do it because I want to beat out Bama and Georgia for most subs in the month of April. We've just got going.
Let's
Don't
do
let
it.
us fall behind Bama and Georgia LSU fans. Go to the
Let's
Bengal Tiger, sign up. It's just $1. And then if you're
exactly.
there, you also get to track how Matty B's AAU team is. Shout out Red Storm. We got another tournament coming up this weekend. Get the boys buckled in, Matty B.
Big one. Big one. Big
Matty
tournament.
B does
Varsity
not play for the
tournament.
Red Storm, obviously, but he's got the clipboard. He's on the
Yes.
sidelines.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank y'all for joining us, and we will talk to y'all later.